Great. Good morning, everyone. Today is Monday, March 21st. This is CADD 212, and this is class 12. Today in class, we're going to be talking about the next phases of our final project. We're going to talk about schematic design phase, actually different phases of projects that you will complete in a firm. Typically in a firm, there's all these your documents and your drawings are broken down into 3 different phases, and we'll talk about that and what they mean. And then we're going to begin our renovation project. You should be at a point where you have your original model for your final complete, and the steps are going to be as follows. We'll take that original model and we'll resave it as a renovation model, and then we'll begin the renovation part with the tools that we'll learn today, which include elevations, the level tool, how to add different floors to your house. I call it raise the roof. And we'll add a second and third floor. And well, in order to do that, we'll need to create subfloors. Everyone will use the wood joist 10-inch wood flooring to add your second and third floors. And then we'll slowly begin the design phase and how that's going to work out. But we'll go through all that today, how that's going to apply. So that's this is just the lesson plan for today. Let's go ahead and jump into class for today. The main thing that we're going to be talking about today is schematic design phase. So that's the mod you want to open. So we open that. What you're going to need to do is see the attached document for your instructions. Let's go ahead and open that up. And today we'll talk about schematic design phase. So working in a firm, you'll hear people talking about, well, are you in SDs, are you in CDs, are you in DDs, and things like that. And that just determines what phase you're in. The initial phase that we work in, anytime we're developing a set of plans, it will be schematic design phase. Basically, the purpose of the schematic design phase is to develop a plan of action regarding how a building will look based on the client's budget and specific design requests. The architect prepares rough plans or schematics that show a general model of where the rooms will be located, the placement of the doors and windows, and how the building will be structured overall. Some architects consider the schematic design phase the most important time spent interacting with clients. At this stage, they have frequent meetings in order to keep clients abreast of the work and the direction. During these meetings, architects present drawings that describe the design ideas with respect to the budget. So this is really the phase where if you have a client coming to you and they've got you this building, which you've already built, they're like, well, this is my building and these are my ideas to renovate it. This is the time where you would sit down with your client and really find out what they want to do, what their budget is, what their vision is, and work with them to develop their vision and your vision and how to renovate this building, be it just the entire building, be it like just renovating a couple of rooms in the house and things like that. That's basically the schematic design phase where we're really kind of developing these ideas of how we want this new building to look. And that's exactly what I want y'all to do for this final project. We've started out and you have a basic building. We'll take a look at that, one of them in Revit in a minute, and how we're going to add to it. So per the instructions, we're going to add 2 floors to the commercial building. So you're going to end up with a 3-story building. The second floor, when you create that, it should contain 4 office spaces, restrooms for women and men, a janitor's closet, and a mechanical room. And on the 3rd floor, you're going to create 7 offices, restrooms for women and men, and a mechanical room as well. These are all different things that we're taking into consideration. And you're going to think about the layout and the use of space. Client doesn't have a lot of other direction besides that. So you kind of have free reign to kind of figure out how you want to explore the space and make sure you have those rooms laid out. What we'll do is in the next class, we'll open the floor. to any kind of questions that you may have. You'll have some initial time to think about it today and tomorrow. And then when we come back on Wednesday, we'll take some time at the beginning of class where you can ask, me, the client, different ideas that you have, and we can talk about that and how we want to develop. Because right now, there's a lot of vagary here. You don't know how big these offices are going to be. You don't know if one's supposed to be bigger than the other. Basically for men and women's room, we would be going by code. Here we'll use I'll give you some information on that, how we want to break that down next class. But right now, it's just the purpose that we're looking for is to start taking this model that you already have and start creating this new building with it. So let's take a look at a couple of those things again. I'm going to add a first and second floor. Jump back to, close that one. Let me close this. Let's go to files. All right, so we had our schematic design phase discussion. Is there any questions about schematic design phase or how that works before we move on? Okay, so next we'll talk about is how to begin our renovation. So you should all have that renovation model, the original model, that one story that you were instructed to create. So let's take a look at somebody's now. So you should all have something that kind of looks like this. Floor plan right here. Looks really nice. So what we're going to do is take a look at this space, and then we're going to figure out how to renovate it. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to actually take this model, and we're going to have a separate model. So you have your final project original one, and we're going to take this and we're going to resave it. Let's see, file, save as project. Final project. And this is going to be my final project renovation. So if you don't say this as a new project, we're not going to have that original project to compare it to. And that's all part of the interest in this, is to see the original model and how you've changed that and created this new renovation model. So make sure that you create a second renovation project. And this is the model that we're actually going to change up. All right, so how are we going to do that? Especially by adding second and third floor. Well, we're going to use these different tools here. We're going to talk about the elevations. We touched on this a little bit before, how we've used those, and then the level tool, and actually how to actually create those second and third floors. So how are we going to do that? Let's jump back to Revit. We're going to do that by going to one of our elevations. We'll just go to our north elevation. So we've got our project that looks like this, very basic, and we want to add a second and third floor to it. So remember how everything is attached to different levels. So we have a level 2 here, we have a level 1 here. We basically want to add 2 more levels. So we're going to add another level to create our actual second floor, which will be here, and then we're going to create another level, which will create our third floor. So in order to do that, we're going to add new level tools. So you're going to get those in your architecture tab, your datum panel, and your level tool. So when we click on this level tool, we're going to be adding some more levels, which indicated here. And you want to be kind of precise when you start and end them, because notice how they're connecting here with that location line and not here with this, then there's no location line, so they're not actually connected. It works easier and better for you if they are connected, because then they will move in unison. So let me show you the difference between those two. I can not worry about the height right now because I'll change that. And then I'll bring this over here and I'll connect this one. So now you see if I move one, I move them all. And it just makes things easier for you as you progress through your project. So I always encourage that. For instance, if you didn't connect them, it would look something like this. And these will move independently of that one. And sometimes that can get really frustrating, especially if you have all of them unconnected. There's times where you'll want one unconnected, but mostly it's just easier for you to keep them all connected. So I'm just going to delete this one. Hit OK. I'll go back to Architecture tab, Datum Panel Level Tool, and I'm going to connect this other one. And notice after I connected that one, I drew one, I deleted it, and that was level 4. And now this one just came in as level 5. So that can be a bit confusing too, but that's not a problem because we can change the names of these and we're going to change the height of these. So for level 3, we'll leave that as level 3. We'll change this one to level 4. And this is very important because it says, would you like to rename corresponding views? Well, yes, we always want to do that. There may be some few times that you don't, but mostly you do want that. That way it'll populate throughout all of your Revit model. Notice here in our project browser, it says level 5. When I say yes, I want to rename all corresponding views, it changed the name here as well to level 4. If I said no, then this would have stayed level 5, and you can see how going down that road, it can be very confusing. So here we are at level 1. Our first floor is 10 feet. We're just going to keep everything at 10 feet here, 10 feet difference, especially because we're going to come in with another 10-inch subfloor. So we'll keep that at 20 feet, and we'll change this to 30 feet. So everything's lined up really nicely in order for us to add that, create our third floor, second and third floor. And the easiest way to do that is by actually just raising the roof. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and highlight the roof, make it active. And we'll change the base level from 2, it's attached to 2. And all we have to do is change that to 4. And if you've connected all your walls correctly and things like that, then everything will move at the same time. And let's go to 3D, take a spin, see what we're looking at. So he connected all his walls correctly, and they all came up at the same time, which makes it nice. Sometimes, depending on what you want to do, we may disconnect these, but you should have something that looks like this. And now we've got this weird thing right here. Let's click and find out what that is. That's our soffit. At this time, we can go ahead and change the location of the soffit. We can change that to level 4. And that'll come in very nicely right at level 4. So that's one of the great things about Revit, is that it's so easy to change the height and structure of this just by a couple of clicks, rather than having to redraw a whole new elevation from there. So if we even wanted this just to be like a 2-story, we could just change the elevation to this to level 3. Obviously, the walls will move at the same time. The soffit is independent of that, but we can change that later. But it's very easy
to manipulate that. So it's real easy to create a bigger building just by doing these little things here. Next thing we want to do is we want to jump into our floor plans. So let's take a look at what's next. All right, so we're going to add our wood joists for both of those rooms. And then pretty much that's it for the lecture today. And then you can kind of begin laying out your second and third floor ideas, how you want those to look. In fact, I would recommend sketching something, and you can even upload the sketch and we can talk about it next class, or you can upload something for this mod so I can see what your ideas are and things like that. But we'll talk about that next class, how you want to lay that out and start laying out those second and third floors. That's the really interesting part, to see what your ideas are in creating those new floors and new office buildings. So let's go ahead and jump into creating our floors. So this is my level 1 view, obviously. We know what's going on there. This is my level 2 view. And I want to add my finished floor on here. Even though it says level 2, I can see the walls on level 1. And sometimes that's useful and sometimes it isn't. It's actually quite useful at the beginning of this, because if you want to like lay over your current walls, keep these same walls in the same space and have them go up, have a similar floor plan to each one, it's good to see where those floors are. But sometimes they get a little confusing and people don't like to see that. And especially when we start laying out a multi-story building in our sheets, we don't want to see these floors underneath. So you can't change the underlay. So here we have range base level 1. If I change that to none, then those walls disappear and I've basically got a clean slate to start with. You can do that. But just as I'm starting out my drawing, I like to keep those walls active so I can have an approximate idea of what I'm stacking on my walls. Especially like for a staircase, you want to keep those walls consistent and things like that. And lots of people like to keep the floors consistent, or different rooms. There's different ways to play with that. But it is good to know if you want to turn those off, if they are getting confusing, you can turn those off with the underlay tool. All right, so let's go ahead and drop in our finished floor. So we'll go floor. And we're all going to use the wood joist 10-inch wood finish. And we'll do finished floors on top of that, but we're just going to use this one to start. And notice how the walls are kind of chopped up. Obviously, he split the walls in order to create some paint on the inside of these. So as you know, that makes it kind of difficult for us to lay out our walls, but that's our floor. So we'll go ahead and just click these separate walls to create our floor. And in this particular wall, you want to click on the inside wall, not the exterior. If you clicked on the exterior, then it would go through. And in order to connect these wall sections, we'll go ahead and use our corner extend tool. And we'll hit our green check mark. It's going to ask, would you like the walls to go up to the second floor? This is for the first floor walls. Notice how those are highlighted. Do you want them to go up to this bottom and attach to the bottom of the second floor? We're going to say no for now. There's different times that you want to do that and you don't, but we're going to use this as just part of the lesson plan of how to adjust these things later on. So now we're going to just say don't attach. Also, it's going to ask you if you want the floor roof overlaps the highlighted walls. Would you like to join the geometry and cut the overlapping volume out of the wall? This isn't that important for this class, but it is nice to know what the difference is. Basically, it's saying if you put yes, we're actually having these walls, this floor inserted into the wall sections. So we'll just put yes for now. And right now we have our second floor created. We can still see our first floor walls underneath that. Let's go to 3D. Let's take a look how things are progressing. Let's hide sections of it. And here we see that our walls are coming in nicely. Actually, whoever created this project already had their ceilings in here, and the ceilings are laying like really nicely against the floor above it, which looks really good. This is what some of you might have to adjust that, but here this looks really nice. We'll learn how to play, manipulate that as well. And notice how in certain views, we can still see the walls underneath this floor. This is okay for now. We're going to adjust that as we progress through the project. So if you have something that looks like this, it's okay. We're going to learn how to fix that. If we had said yes to the first question, do we want our floor walls to attach to the bottom of our new floor, then we wouldn't have this issue. But we're going to go ahead and do that so we can learn how to change it. All right, so we've got our second floor in place. Let's go ahead and jump up to level 3. Level 3, if we take a look at the underlay, it says none. If you want that to show level 2, you can have level 2 there, but there's no walls on level 2 now, so you're not going to see them anyway. But as you start drawing those walls, they'll start populating. I'll just draw this one wall right here. Let's go to level 3, and you can see it on level 3 just because I changed that base underlay. All right, so we're going to do the same thing for level 3 is we're going to add that floor. Actually, let me go back to level 2. I'm going to delete that. Back to level 3, and we'll go back to floor. My same floor should be active. This is the floor that I want, and I'm just going to go ahead and click my walls. I use my corner tool to close that. Hit my green check mark. I'll hit yes. Let's go to 3D, see what we look like. And now we have all our 3 floors in. Which is really nice. So now the next thing you want to do is start using the information that you have here in our mods. Oops. And start thinking about how are you going to start laying out these four office spaces in the restroom, men's room, and women's, a janitor's closet and a mechanical room, and then lay out the other information on the 3rd floor. So usually what I'll do when we're in class is we'll use actually tracing paper. We'll print out the original 1st floor on that, and then we'll use tracing paper to work on our designs, because as we talked about at the beginning of the class, sometimes just trying to draw things straight in Revit or in CAD, trying to create that way is not really very productive. It's better to get out a pen and paper and sit down and figure out how you're going to draw out your ideas and things. So I suggest actually going old school and kind of practicing some ways that you want to lay it out. Right now, we're not necessarily looking for like the exact measurements of the rooms, but how you want this puzzle piece to come together as you're laying out these different rooms and their functions and things like that. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and turn the class over to y'all, see if there's any questions. And if not, then you can go ahead and start working on this for next class. see if you can get some ideas of how you want your rooms to look, and then we'll revisit that and move on from there after next class. Any questions, y'all? All right, cool. If there's no questions, we'll go ahead and end class here. I'll get the recording up, and that'll be it for today, and I'll see y'all Wednesday.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thanks. Y'all too. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.